it's Jill here with Ag Power, and today I am at our Easton location with our commercial business manager, Jamie Boswell, and we are going to do our nutrient applicator video for our virtual fall clinic for you guys. So Jamie, tell me what we have with us here today.
So what we're going to talk about today is John Deere's F4365 nutrient applicator. This is our floater chassis, if you will. This one has a dry box on it. The other configurations would be an air boom or a liquid system. But today we're going to talk about the new liter spinner box and kind of go over the chassis a little bit, and then we'll get into a little bit of calibration.
Perfect. Okay, so what kind of engine horsepower are we talking about?
Sure. So as the number tells us, it's an F4365, so that's 365 engine horsepower. This is a 9-liter John Deere diesel engine. It does run DEF, so it's final tier 4. Behind that, we've got the IVT transmission. We've got a field range and we've got a road range for transport down the highway. Top field spreading speed would be about 25 miles an hour. Top road speed is about 47 miles an hour. So we get to the job and back quickly.
Wonderful, and that's what we need on commercial business jobs. And we are seeing a lot of large farmers purchasing these and doing the fertilizing and spraying themselves now as well, correct?
Correct.
Not just co-ops?
Yep.
Okay, now what else would we like to go over?
Just a couple things as far as the specs on this machine. I believe this one was equipped with the Michelin tires. That is an option. We upgrade most of ours to the Michelin tires. So we're running Michelin's up front, Michelin's on the rear. If we work our way down the side of the machine here, Jill, you can see I've got some stuff here, some electric components. Battery box is under the catwalk. I've got some air tanks for my air system. This has an Axle Tech rear end in it, so it's got air brakes. So when we start the machine up, I've got to let the air pressure build up before I can release the brakes.
Okay.
I've got a little storage box here. Once we get back here, this chassis, the cab motor chassis, is all John Deere. We partner with New Leader Manufacturing for the spinner box unit. What we've got here today is a DN495 in 304 stainless. You'll notice it's shiny, not green. Paint will not stick to 304 stainless, which is kind of critical in the fertilizer business. The DN495, this is a single bin that holds 495 cubic feet strut capacity. So if we're going to put sideboards on it or fill it up where it's peaked down the center, it'll actually hold more than the 495, but that's the rating based on strut capacity.
Okay.
What we're seeing here is the oil reservoir for the bed and then the cooler for it. You kind of get a look at the drive line under here. The IVT transmission we talked about is hanging down here. It comes right off the end of the transmission. I've got a U-joint drive shaft back to the Axle Tech rear end. Moving on back, you'll notice safety rails. If we get up top later, I'll show you inside the box, but safety rails so we don't fall off the side. So we're going to move around.
Okay, so now we're here at the back, and this is obviously the most important part on a fertilizer spreader. So what do we have going on here?
Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is we've got a belt over chain inside the box that's running back to dump the fertilizer onto the spinners. We'll jump up and look at the belt here in a minute. But first I want to talk about some adjustments back here. So as the product falls off the belt onto the spinner frame, these blades are spinning as we're going through the field. But I've got an adjustment on this fan frame, we call it forward and back. To give you an example, if I was spreading lime, I would want the spinner frame all the way back at a number 1 setting. Since we're going to do fertilizer, I'm probably going to crank it forward to about a 3-inch setting.
Right.
So I'm going to crank this, and I've got a little scale in here, and I'm going to stop when it gets on 3 inches. And that's just a good starting point. We may adjust that after a pan test, but that'll be a good starting point.
And again, the pan test is something we were going to do live with you guys in the field at our fall clinic, and unfortunately we can't do that, and it's not very easy to do virtually for you guys. So we do plan on doing that next fall, or maybe potentially in the spring, even though that's out of season for you guys. But that is something we still plan to do at our next clinic or next fall clinic, so you guys can see real life the pan samples and the different ratings.
And just know that every machine that we sell, Jill, we actually go to the field with the customer, and we do all the setup, calibration, fan test, the whole 9 yards.
Wonderful.
So, so I've got my fan set where I want them for fertilizer. The next adjustment with this crank here is my gate opening. With this box, it's a single bin, so I've got a 12-inch gate. To give you an example, for lime, we would probably run with an 8 or 10-inch gate. With fertilizer, I want it on 2. Could you read that scale and tell me if we're on 2? We're pretty close to it.
You're right at 2.
Okay, so we're good here. So those are the main adjustments I've got on the back of the machine. The third thing I can adjust is the spinner speed, which is done in the cab. And when we get into the calibration in the screen in the cab, we'll talk about spinner speed. Spinner speed is basically the faster I spin, the farther it throws. But I want a good even pattern across, so it's kind of a fine line.
Absolutely.
Again, something we'll dial in on the pan test. So that kind of sums up the back of the machine. We might jump up and show you inside the box just what we're talking about with that belt over chain.
Okay, let's do it.
So we're up on top of the box here and wanted to point out a couple things inside the box. The first one, if you'll pan down, you can see I've got a belt over chain in this bed. There's two different types of belts. There's a straight rubber belt, and as you can see here, this has got rivets across. So each one of those rivets is into a metal bar, so they call it a belt over chain. The idea with the belt over chain is that it's not a smooth belt, so if I'm spreading ag lime, it'll kind of grab at it. If it was just fertilizer, it really doesn't matter, but a belt over chain is what you'll have to have for ag lime.
And this is what we talked about, that is pulling the fertilizer down to the spinners, correct?
Exactly, yep.
Okay.
So I load this box full, that belt starts moving, and it's dumping product out, the 2-inch opening at the back, and we're going to dial it into the rate that we're desiring. So a couple things in here I want to point out, Jill, are these bin sensors. I've got one at the front that's up high, and I've got one at the back that's down low.
So why are they not at the same levels?
Okay, good question. So the rear one that we're zoomed in on now is when the product gets low in the bin, that alerts the operator, hey, you're just about out of product. So they know that they got to be thinking about going back and reloading. Now the front sensor, I told you the transport speed was 47 miles an hour, but if this box is loaded, I don't want it going down the road that fast.
Correct.
So if I've got product covering this front sensor, it's going to limit my road speed just to be more safe going down the road. So that's what those two are for. Okay, the next piece in here, Jill, I want to talk about is the inverted V.
Okay.
And the purpose of this, just like it appears, it's an inverted V, but the idea of that is if I put too much weight of product, whether it's fertilizer or lime, on that belt, it won't want to turn with the hydraulics. So that inverted V helps carry some of the weight. So if this box is heaped up really tall, it's going to hold some of the weight off that belt, so I don't get belt slippage underneath the product.
Absolutely. And then it also helps filter
Exactly.
as the pile goes down.
It helps it evenly feed it to the belt. The last thing up here I want to point out is our removable tailgate. There are 4 bolts up here on the back side, and I can take this tailgate out and my inverted V out, and I can put what's called a multiplier insert in here. So then I could do 2 product. So if I was going to do variable rate P and K, I would want the 2 bin, and again, this is set up as a single bin, but it's convertible back and forth from a 2 bin to a single bin.
Okay.
I think, unless there's questions, that wraps it up for up here.
All right, well, thank you guys for joining us on this video of our nutrient applicator, and we will also have another video on calibration from inside the cab as well, so be sure to check that one out too.